Welcome to Loup TV. I'm Gene, along with Justin, John, and David. We got a whole crew today. It's an important topic. The subject is blue light. This is the light that is emitted from our displays and our devices. Something that you probably have had some thoughts of, what does this mean for my health in the past? And that's why we're bringing everybody together. This falls under our interview series around frontier tech. And I thought it would be appropriate to bring us all together. So on Justin's side, you are the founder of Eyesafe, which has some technology to help navigate this. John Ryan, you are with Unitedhealth Group, United Healthcare, and are doing specifically Unitedhealth Vision that runs their vision group. And David, you're just a good old doc that understands how eyes work, and we needed this perspective. And so I wanted to set up the conversation around blue light and kind of bring it to we'll start with you, David, from just the peer, from the medical industry side of this. I know you've been studying this for 5+ years, but is this real, or is it something that, we just kind of make up around potential threats? And how on earth can you ever really figure out if blue light really does have an impact?
Yeah, I think, Gene, that the concept of blue light's impact on human health has been, recognized by the eye care field for many, many years.
Is this, by the way, when my mom said, "Don't sit so close to the TV," is that kind of that idea?
Kind of part of it, but I mean, the emission, the light energy coming from that, right? There's different wavelengths and the spectrum of light coming from devices. So we know a lot about light and how the eye kind of processes light. So we know that circadian rhythm can be shifted by staring at your screen before bedtime. That's been
what's it called? Circadian rhythm.
Circadian rhythm, right? Your sleep cycle, right? So the melatonin and things like that, that's processed by light energy coming into the eye, that can be shifted, right? So that phase of your sleep cycle can be impacted by that. We've known that for many, many years. So there's a lot of research around that area. These other areas of research I think are interesting around, the potential long-term and cumulative effects on the retina tissue, how the retina metabolizes light energy, how children's eyes particularly receive more blue light energy because the lens of their eye doesn't filter as much. And even looking at the front of the eye from the epithelial cells, kind of the outer surface of the eye, can show signs of premature aging. So apoptosis, we call that. And so there's all these different effects in terms of how the human body processes light energy. So how do we kind of,
let me ask this, how do you is there like test groups? I mean, to figure out whether this is actually having an impact, you got to go and find somebody who hasn't had exposure to devices to compare it, or I guess you could go back and look at the history of eyes and kind of see how they've evolved. But I want to make sure that it's like a global warming conversation. Is it real or is it not? Would you say that the industry is still debating about what the impact is, or is in consensus on it?
I think it's a great question, Gene. I think there's certainly knowns and there's unknowns. So as we look to, the circadian rhythm impact, that's pretty well known and established. Some of the long-term and medium-term impact from the retina is still to be determined. There's certainly laboratory studies. There's a host of hundreds of papers now that have been published in the literature around laboratory and potential, human health impacts from the long cumulative impact on the retina. Now we're seeing more publications come forward, research on the retina impact as well. So there's these areas that some of them are known, but some of them are certainly concerning enough to say, okay, if we know that light energy has these human health effects, what can we do to reduce our exposure to it?
Makes sense. Before I bring in John, a question or just a comment is, I think one of the hardest things to do, I'm a happy person. I think it's always hard to get out of bed. Getting that first foot out of bed is always difficult. Mm-hmm. One thing that I've been doing over the past couple of years is when I'm in bed, I'll just turn my phone on. I don't use my phone at night before I go to sleep, but I'll just turn it and I'll read a story or two. And I feel like it's just like a jolt of energy. And so I can see how that light, whether it's blue light or whatever is having an impact here, can kickstart. So we've established that highly likely there is a problem here, and bring in John. Unitedhealth is a massive business, and you're partnering with Eyesafe around this problem. And why is it? Why do you feel so strongly about it? Why now? Why now start to move down this road?
Yeah, great question. And I think if you'd asked us a couple of years ago, I might have been asking the same things you just asked in the beginning, like how serious is this? COVID just accelerated this for all of us. And as the parent of 4 young adult to late teen kids, the screen time for all of us is massive. The fact that they're putting these screens this close, I think we've all started to notice we're a little bit tired. So personally, just like you said about, your own kind of new sleep habits, I was starting to notice some things. But much more importantly is Unitedhealth Group, we really are a research-based company. We are not going to do things unless the data supports it. So 2 things came together for us around blue light. As Eyesafe was talking to us, they had the certification processes. They had not only the interest, but the partnerships with major device manufacturers. And as we started to look at the data, the research, and as we started to talk to some of the kind of constellation of partners around us, it was very clear the industry that makes the devices that are emitting this at much higher rates than you can get from the sun or ultraviolet light in your house, they are doing things. They are moving quicker on it. So it's kind of one of those things, I liken it to a cigarette. Before the Surgeon General made those statements that we had to put on the labels of cigarettes, if any one of us remember that, we all kind of knew that probably wasn't the healthiest thing in the world. I think we're at the same place. The data and the information that David just pointed out across the broadest definition of it, I think is imminent. There's enough information there now. That dovetailed really well with what United Healthcare Vision, the business I get to enjoy and grateful to run. We are focused on eye health and total health. Unlike some of the other healthcare vision companies, managed vision companies, who also own stores, or they own optometric practices, or they own parts of the supply chain. So they're vertically integrated and they have a lot of different interests. Our interest primarily is around eye health and being part of Unitedhealthcare, Unitedhealth Group. It's around how is your eye health and your total health connected.
And Jen, what would be around eye health? You have 23, 24 million members, something like that. Does that sound right?
That's exactly right.
And what's the end game for you? Do you want your members to get something in the mail that says, be careful about screen time, or are you going to send them a QR code for a discount on some sort of Eyesafe filter? Where does the rubber kind of meet the road?
Well, I could try the QR codes just on the screen on TV and see if they click it like the Super Bowl.
Not a bad idea.
Maybe not me and crypto. First, it is right where you said, it's education. The ultimate irony is we'll probably push emails to them, or we'll put it on our portals as they're looking at screens. It has to start with education. So before we even think about, is there a business in this, or somehow who can monetize this, you have to raise awareness. It's a public health issue. It dovetailed really well with us, is that we really are starting with adults talking about their children, because of how David just described to you. Children's eyes, much different. They're taking in this light, don't have as much protection, screens are closer. So we have partnered, for instance, with 2 years running now, school districts in underserved areas, and given them grants to buy equipment, buy Chromebooks or other laptops, whatever the kids are using, we're brand agnostic, that has the blue light protection. So let's start with education. But at the same time, again, thanks to our relationship with Eyesafe, is we've come into these partnership opportunities where we can extend really value-added discounts into some of the protection devices. So whether it's filters with ZAG, or whether it's high-end PCs like Dell. So I think our whole job here, Gene, quite honestly, is let's raise awareness. Let's tell people that this is serious, and let's empower the provider, the optometric community, and consumers to understand that there are things they can do to take a break and keep themselves away from blue light. But when they do, of course, need to use devices, there's ways they can protect them, and then we'll use our scale to help, have them be able to afford that.
Justin, as a founder, I can't think of a better, a more heartwarming comment from John is to use Unitedhealthcare's scale to help educate their base about some of these problems here. SCORE won both for United and for Eyesafe. And in most basic terms, how do you help solve this problem?
So I think if you go back to the problem, right, we have not only screen time is increasing, but the distance that displays are to the eyes are also decreasing. So you've got, these two trend lines that we think, create a combination that does need to be addressed. So, Eyesafe works directly at the light source level, right? So we work with the largest consumer electronics brands and device manufacturers to adjust how they emit light directly inside of the display, And then we also have aftermarket solutions as well. So
So-
I think
okay,
if
so
you look at
the
this,
aftermarket solutions would be something that you'd
you might overlay on top of your
overlay on top.
screen, right? If you
Got
got a phone right inside of your, or on top of your PC, for example. So,
And then can you actually get into the design of the display itself?
yeah, exactly. So, the first real issue is that device manufacturers haven't known how to think about this topic, right? From, what is a healthy amount of blue light to be emitting. And so
Because their goal is to have the most vibrant screen
they want the most vibrant screen.
for the
They don't
cheapest
want
price.
any kind of degradation to performance of the display. And, that's shared, I think, across the industry. And so we've developed what's called the Eyesafe display standard. This is a set of requirements similar to what Dolby has created in sound. And we work with all the manufacturers to achieve that level of excellence. And this is related to light emission. So, and that's really the business that we're in, which is in light management.
Got it. And you mentioned you have some customers. John mentioned that too. Are there any that you can share who are kind of advancing what you're doing?
Sure. Yep. So there's 50 million Eyesafe units have been produced to date. This is across HP, Dell, Lenovo, Acer, LG Display. We work with BOE, the world's largest display manufacturer. And then ZAG is the largest screen accessory company in the world. So, and what I would say is this, the blue light, we believe in low blue light is a dated term. If we think that in the future, this is just how devices are going to be manufactured. It's going to be a given and just an expectation that light and light output is thought of related to just the manufacturing. And so we do expect this to be common. So, our forecast is, and this should be aligned to the rest of the industry, is that this is going to be just expected for how devices are produced. Yeah.
Could it be legislated?
We worked with the state of California back in 2019 to create the first what we believe to be guide along these lines. This is California STAAR 73. Some very interesting things that California is, and obviously, they're very progressive on topics like this. And so we believe this will be regulated in how devices are putting out light energy, similar to other spaces.
And how do you know, if you're a consumer, how do you know if the device that you have has some sort of protection here?
We've created it with a group called TUV Rhineland, is the largest independent third-party certification body, a certification process. So as the device is manufactured, it goes through that. It gets essentially stamped to identify and signified. So there's those sort of marking processes that a consumer would see.
Got it. Okay, so they would know it's on the box somewhere, it's stamped. But I suspect these companies may want to market this too.
Yep, they are marketing it, and so you would identify it and see Eyesafe marks, for example, are becoming more and more common.
Final
with
question.
our partners on that.
Nice. I'm curious, how do you make money?
So we have a technology that enables the production of low blue light devices. And so this is a light absorptive technology. And we do some sort of crafty engineering to take that blue light energy and then move it to other forms of light energy. It's called photon up conversion, or the ability to move light energy to another portion of the spectrum. So we take what may be a bad blue light and move it into a healthier form of energy. And that's an IP that we've licensed to the industry. Got
it. And when you look at a screen, is there, would I be able to tell the difference between a screen that has your technology integrated versus one that doesn't?
No, and that's the idea, is that this would be an invisible technology that's just built into everything. And what I would just say is you're going to be seeing some interesting things coming in the future on this front that may include combinations of hardware and software. The cameras that we're looking at right now may be able to detect certain human factors that will intelligently adjust blue light levels and light emission coming off of devices. And that may work in tandem with the hardware inside of our devices. Then, this underlying healthcare AI that's really guiding how these devices are produced. And that's the value that Eyesafe brings, is, working with a United and the thought leaders in the space like Dr. Fries to define really what is human health and safety related to the manufacturing of solutions.
Amazing. And you're advancing what we're doing. There is, you mentioned AI, that kind of kicks me into the toy department piece here. And did I read somewhere that their phones are working at using the display to recycle power back to a battery?
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at High energy blue light is a very intense light energy that's put off of common LEDs, right, that our displays put out, which is unfortunate on many fronts. One being the human element, which we're talking about, the other being it's a wasted energy source, right? And it can become much more efficient. We actually can use that energy to recycle it back into the display to increase the battery of a notebook, for example, a phone. We also can increase the luminance or even the color performance of displays using that blue light energy.
Probably a fractional improvement in probably a fraction of that can actually be recycled back. But I mean, the theme is definitely catches my attention that you're working along those lines.
I mean, I think the manufacturers are fighting for battery improvements. Obviously, we're seeing the ability to even increase 5% a luminance gain, which is incredibly significant to many manufacturers.
That's something.
Yeah,
that adds up. I'll take that extra, whatever, 10, 15 minutes at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And appreciate what you're doing in terms of making our lives a little bit safer across the board. David educating me, John, I guess educating as well, and partnering here, and Justin building a business. It ain't easy building a business, but you are really have identified something here that is important and powerful, and we're going to keep hearing more about this topic. So on behalf of David, John, and Justin, and Gene, and Loup TV, bye for now.